Religious leaders are now recognized under the lockdown regulations as essential frontline workers. Joining me for reaction, Bishop Musa Sono, who is the founder and presiding bishop of Grace Bible Church. Your Grace, good evening and thank you for your time. After much lobbying and much deliberation with the President as well as the National Command Council, tonight the Command Council acceding to the call by religious organizations to recognize religious leaders as essential frontline workers. Is it really about that, or was it about reopening of the churches?
Well, thank you very much, Thabo, and good evening to all the viewers of Newzroom. You know, the reality is that the role that the religious people play in the country, the religious sector plays and has continued to play, even from a historical standpoint, it's very clear that our country and people in our nation, to a large extent, depend and they are helped a lot by the religious sector. You know, right now, with all the interventions that are made in curbing the spread of the disease and also taking care of the lives of our people in terms of food and helping them with hunger and all of that, there's a side to it that has been missing, the taking care of people spiritually, their emotional welfare, and also the ability that the church has always had to be able to assist in social programs. I mean, many churches have feeding programs. We take care of people with TB. We take care, as the faith committee, of people with HIV/AIDS. Also, we have mechanisms that are well-oiled where we're able to reach people even in the far corners of this nation. Yeah. So historically, the church has always played that role as a major role player. And government itself has testimony and knows very well the best-run programs that are reaching out to people are run by the church. And they've been consistent. Even with the limited resources they've had, the church has done that. So indeed, I think the church is an essential service. And we're very excited that government has agreed to that, or our leaders have agreed to that, and that the President has made that announcement tonight. It's very exciting and it's a good thing.
Are you saying to us, Bishop, that personalized ministry that you speak of, you were unable to do it as the church without the declaration or without the status of essential frontline service worker?
Well, most of us, many churches, let me not say most of us, many churches have taken to, using social media to make contact with people. But when you look at the landscape of our country, there's a huge number of people who cannot access those facilities. Either they don't have that, or if they do have it, it's very expensive to run it. And given the scale of the people who are unemployed, who are poor in our country, we're just reaching a very small amount of people. And I think that was one of our concerns, to say, of course, we can use technology, we can do all of that, but what about the vast majority of people? What about people who don't have these resources, or even if they have it, are those resources sustainable? And we think this approach that has been given, that we can go back in groups of 50s with all the proper measures of taking care, if they're in place, at least we can maximize on that and reach a large number of people, which is really what we have wished to do. And it's not just about going to church, Thabo. What about people who need to be given counsel? You know, it's not only church services. People want to receive counseling. People want to be reached out in a certain way, and the church is able to do that to a large extent. So, the proposal for this gradual resumption of our activities with proper measures is a very, very important thing, and we think it's good that that has been positively considered.
Let's talk about that before I let you go, Bishop. If I don't know if you are tracking, you look at the reopening of the churches in Germany, in Frankfurt to be exact, 40 people that gathered there. Now we are talking of 431 new infections in Germany because of people that went to a church gathering. And by the way, this is with the regulations in place and the necessary protocols, which speaks to the issue of people gathered in close proximity in large numbers. The virus spreads like wildfire. What guarantee are you giving to the leaders, to the president, that you're going to ensure that we don't see a recurrence and an upsurge in the number of COVID-19 cases?
Well, we did submit a document that spells out in detail, how we think those measures can be put in place. And honestly, in places where infections has happened, it's when people failed to comply with the recommendations. I mean, the recommendations we've made start, first of all, in terms of places being cleaned properly, and then there's a proper screening of people when they come in, the wearing of face masks, the proper social distancing that's there within the church. We're even thinking about, our practice of singing. Can we sing out loud? Because then the saliva is going to be flying everywhere. Whatever utensils we are using for communion, they need to be properly sanitized, or we don't use them at all. No handshaking, no laying of hands, and people shouldn't congregate in groupings. It's a very, very extensive document that has been given, but we've also given a rider to say we should be held accountable for making sure those things are executed, and government can even go so far as to come and inspect our premises to make sure that everything is in its rightful place. I think wherever infection has happened is when people didn't take the proper precautionary measures, and they did. People like to break the rules. And we are going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Bishop, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. That is Bishop Musa Sono, the presiding bishop and founder of Grace Bible Church. When we